The client went off and got her drawings done by an architect, spent about $8,000 to $10,000. And then I came involved and took the drawings, give them the build estimate to find out where it's going. And to do the renovation is up to nearly $500,000. And the question I asked her was like, would you be interested in doing this as a knock and rebuild? And I'd probably build you a house between 70 and 100,000. Now she's coming that way with us. But yesterday's meeting I found so beneficial because I've done my first meeting. I've done my second meeting with her and the designer. And yesterday was a meeting with the design team just to rebuild this. And just by taking 10 square meters off her build, we saved her $35,000. And I was just in that meeting yesterday, just ears. I wasn't involved in it. I was just listening in, seeing what was happening. And we reduced just by taking 10 square meters off her building, like 35,000, because we give her a square meter rate to build our rate for passive energy. And she was just blown away. She's like, wow, that's a massive saving. And that is a massive saving.
Thinking about building or renovating? Or maybe you are already knee-deep in a project now. Are you feeling unsure of which steps to take and if you are making the right calls? You're not alone. Welcome to Builders Beyond Borders, the podcast where experienced Aussie builders share real stories, insider tips, and practical advice so you can build with confidence, avoid costly mistakes, and actually enjoy the journey. Let's dive in.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Builders Beyond Borders. We have here Hugh from New Realm Homes in Melbourne. Hey Hugh. Louise and Andy from Perway Construction Services in WA and in Perth. And Paul from Independent Building Solutions in Canberra, and Dean and myself from DJH Builders in Tassie. So today we're going to touch on a couple of topics. We're going to start with the first one. It's not the responsibility of the builder to make sure your projects come in on your preferred budget. So the first question I'm going to throw out to Paul: what are the primary responsibilities of builders versus clients in the budgeting process, and how can misunderstandings lead to conflict during a project? So fire away, Paul.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably the biggest factor a lot of the time, isn't it, is price. I mean, obviously people want as much as they can for their money, and sometimes also you get clients coming to you that have got absolutely no idea how much things cost, and some do. So you've got to have that conversation right up front, got to explain it to them straight away and start looking at, I can usually give people a few ballparks straight off the top, so at least they know they're in the right sort of area or not. So that comes down to communication again, like we talk about fairly regularly, don't we? Yeah. So, and then guiding them through that process. That's why we like to get on board at the early stages to guide them through the process, particularly if there's architects or draftsmen involved, and make sure we can try and rein the budget in or keep the budget in capped at that level that they wanted at right through the process. So you're not getting plans drawn and redrawn half a dozen times because they keep running the budgets. I think that's a pretty important one. So that's where we try to work with that right from the start. It's the first thing comes up, really, isn't it, when you get an inquiry, and is costing. So you've got to be pretty upfront, pretty open, and transparent with your pricing and how much things cost, so you don't lead anyone astray right from day one.
I think all of our processes are similar around giving that initial estimate. Does anyone else want to add anything to that is a helpful tip for people to be cautious of with budget?
I think that it's really hard because it's a lot of homeowners don't know prices, and they can start off with they're holding their cards close to the chest. They don't want to give too much away because they're like, and it's really sad. There's been a lot of dodgy builders out there that don't do the right thing. They're not transparent. So people don't want to give away saying, oh, I have this budget. They want to say that they've probably got less than what they actually have, because they want to protect themselves. But it's hard then on the other side of things for builders then to be able to say, well, actually, with your budget that you have anticipated that you want to spend, then that you can get all of these things for that. So it's a lot of guidance and building that trust at the start with the clients to say, these are and they given the advice on actually how much things cost, because it's like a two-prong approach. Either they don't know how much it is, or they're not honest with how much they've got. So it's up to the builder to guide through to say, well, these are the actual costings. It's like building that trust then to say, what is the end of your road budget? If you've got that, then, what are the necessities that you want to have? What are your wish lists? And it's trying to help them get them what they need. And then if there's allowances in that, then they can have the extras of what they want as well.
Mm, yeah. Going off that, Hugh, what strategies can clients use to implement some realistic budget constraints on themselves? I mean, people, as Louise said, people don't have a clue what things cost, and especially in a changed climate as well. Like things change that we need to keep up to date with as builders. How are people supposed to know? How are prospects supposed to know how much things cost? So, what do you have any tips or strategies that people can adopt to ensure that they have a realistic budget for what they want to do?
Ugh, that's probably the
Mm.
hardest question of the lot. Uh, at the end of the day, there's sort of like a perceived sort of understanding from everybody out there that building is going to cost a certain amount. Most people they look at what's going to be or what they're proposing to build, and they make up an idea in their head based off of some of the experiences that they've had, or also from other people that have done what they're looking to do. And they're basing off of what a friend might have told them about, oh, look, we had a deck built in our backyard. Okay, we did it 5 years ago and it cost us X amount then. A lot of people go into a situation thinking, oh, well, if it cost that much then, it can't have risen that much in price now. But unfortunately, some of the things that have happened over the last few years, that cost of a deck has pretty much doubled, if not tripled in some cases. And because there's so many different variables that come into it, we really need everybody to get some, or not get some, but they can develop some understanding within themselves to actually have that conversation and to be honest about the situation with us to say, hey, look, we don't know how much this is going to cost. We've got an idea based off of a couple of things that have happened before, that we're expecting it to come in this sort of range. And asking us, do you think it's going to come in that range? Look, there's a possibility, but based on our experience with the current market right now, we're probably going to be the ones that tell clients and prospects and leads that, hey, look, the cost of that, going off of what we're looking at right now, it might be up here instead of in your range down here. Are you prepared for that? It's just being realistic about things and being open-minded to what's actually going on out there, because you just got to look at some of the other industries around the world and the costs that are incurred by those businesses or those markets, where the cost difference compared to a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years ago is dramatically different.
That's exactly right. And it can be very confronting as people do have a set in their mind as to how much things will cost. And we are the sort of bad guys that are going to deliver the information that it has changed, but at least it can build some trust from our perspective to show that we're there to protect them from the other builders. Sure, I can do that for $5,000. No stress at all. Let's get it started.
And off the back of that, if they've come off with some experience of a friend that has had it done in previous years and then haven't really done any more research into it, we're the ones that have better knowledge and are doing it day in, day out and know what things cost. So I guess educating your prospects is really important from that, to sort of break that barrier from the get-go, so they don't go into it with a misconception that something that was costed out 5 years ago isn't going to be the same as today.
My next question I'll ask Andy, and it's sort of based around the same conversation, but wanting to identify how important clear communication is between clients and builders in managing expectations around budget constraints, and what steps can both parties take to avoid misalignment in your experience?
I'm just going to use the story from yesterday, Shannon. So, great story. And this is a cost saving for the client that's coming through our process. And as you mentioned, we all have the same kind of process. Is the client went off and got her drawings done by an architect, spent about $8,000 to $10,000, and then I came involved and took the drawings, give them the build estimate to find out where it's going, and to do the renovation is up to nearly $500,000. And the question I asked her was like, would you be interested in doing this as a knock and rebuild? And I'd probably build you a house between 70 and 100,000. Now she's coming that way with us. But yesterday's meeting I found so beneficial because I've done my first meeting. I've done my second meeting with her and the designer. And yesterday was a meeting with the design team just to rebuild this. And just by taking 10 square meters off her build, we saved her $35,000. And I was just in that meeting yesterday, just ears. I wasn't involved in it. I was just listening in, seeing what was happening. And we reduced just by taking 10 square meters off her building, like 35,000, because we give her a square meter rate to build our rate for passive energy. And she was just blown away. She's like, wow, that's a massive saving. And that is a massive saving.
It is.
And if people, and she just loves the process. So now she has a budget. We know what we're trying to build. So now we're trying to build this house in that budget, into this first design. So that's what I really like being involved in them early meetings, Shannon, is to figure out what we can do for the client and be open and be the builder's there to help you, not there trying to screw you over. That's what people think. And she was just blown away yesterday in that meeting. I really came off that meeting. I was like, wow, this is why we do what we do. And unfortunately, people don't do that. They go off and they spend the big dollars. And like you said, the builders in the bad books trying to build it, which is not possible what they're trying to do. So if we can get in early and work with the builder, communicate, and just be honest, say, hey, this is my budget. This is what we have. What can we get for that?
Yeah. And keep that communication going and be open, because, as you say, builders aren't coming in and saying, tell me every last cent that you've got and we'll spend the whole lot, and then we'll throw another $30,000 on top of that for you just to, because, it's, we're trying to protect people as we talk to them about budgets and their expectations and stuff. So really important stuff, and you can't over communicate in those early days. It's just critical.
Yeah. And just with that too, Shannon, I seen her design that she had previously with the last draft person, and the detail in the kitchen. I was like, wow. I said, just to let you know here, your kitchen could be up to a 50 to a 70 grand kitchen. I said, that's a big cost in that build. And I said, if we have to reduce costing, this is where you would reduce some costing in that kitchen if you want to decrease your costing. So just before we go to that full working drawings, she's aware of the kitchen could blow out the package in that area.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. That simple conversation just can save her so much distress.
Yeah.
Well, if people don't know what's involved in kitchens are expensive.
And the feedback she gave me, she said, oh, that's okay. My highlight is the kitchen. If I have to take out the wardrobes of every bedroom, I'm happy to reduce the wardrobes out. You know?
Prices will be made, yeah.
Just hang the clothes on the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Lie on the bed to be all right.
I've been working on one this week too with a draftsman. There was only a master bedroom ensuite these people wanted to put on, and he kept coming up with plans that were a bit too big. They'd already been for bank approval and they'd had finance approved for what they wanted to spend, and he was getting a bit carried away with it. So I've been back to him twice just via email and drawing on plans and scanning them and saying, you need to reduce this. These rooms don't need to be quite so big, to get it round about the price so that once he sends it back to her, I can say, yeah, we can do that within your budget. Whereas if you had to send the plans to her, she wouldn't have known. Then she would have asked me to quote. It would have been over budget, would have been backwards and forwards, between the three of us, another who knows how many times. So it's good to be able to just work in between there with your draftsman direct, and you can nip a lot of that in the bud before it gets anywhere, really, which is much better idea if you can do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, get in early, and then you don't have to worry about trying to cut things back from the get-go. So
yeah. I know when we get some calls and some bookings come through to chat at that initial conversation, like it's such a relief when they haven't been to a building designer, and you get to sort of have a chat and help them and educate them around their budget, because it's what they want, and so they're not going blind to those building designers. And we've had those conversations before around the importance of knowing what you want before you go to the building designer and what you can afford. So really cool stuff. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your time today. We'll see you on the next episode of Builders Beyond Borders. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Shannon.
Thanks for tuning in to Builders Beyond Borders. If today's episode helped you feel more prepared, clearer, or more confident, share it with a mate who's planning their own build or reno. Got a question about building, renovating, or working with tradies? Send it our way. We might cover it in a future episode. And don't forget to hit follow or subscribe so you never miss the real stories, practical tips, and builder insights we've got coming your way. Everything shared on this podcast is based on our experiences and those of our guests. It's general info only. Any reliance on the information provided is done at your own risk.